Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about the mayor's transportation action agenda, things that the mayor is planning on doing in the next 3 years to improve transportation, traffic, transit here in Nashville. Happy to have with us two people from the administration, and as we were talking, kind of setting the table at the start of the show, I guess my question becomes, how do we absorb the growth? When we hear that 100 people or 80 people or whatever it is a day are moving here, it can seem like this problem can't be solved, that our traffic is going to do nothing but get worse. So how do we absorb the growth that we're seeing in Nashville?
Well, yeah, in addition to that statistic of about 85 or to 100 people that move here a day, you know, 1 million more people are coming to our region over the next 20 to 25 years. And someone said, you know, this last week we had a really busy week of events downtown with the Stanley Cup Finals and CMA Fest. That's probably what 1 million more people feels like. And so we really have to be thinking carefully about how we manage our streets, because we want people to continue to be able to get around, to continue to have a high quality of life, to not have it impede our economic growth. And so we really have to think about how do we move the most people on our streets. We already said that it's not likely that we're going to be able to widen a lot of those streets. And I think that's why, you know, the mayor is so excited about the light rail line on Gallatin, because transit is really the best way to move a lot of people in a small amount of space. You can also move more people when they're walking or biking as well. And so that's why all three of those strategies are important things for us to be thinking about on our streets.
Let me say something about the growth too. This was interesting. You know, we do a lot of looking at downtown and how are we going to move within and through downtown with transit and with all modes. And we started this study, I would say, about September of last year, so not quite a year ago. And at that time, we got with the planning department and said, okay, what we'd like to have from you is a list of all the significant developments within the downtown inner loop, because what we're going to do is try to estimate, you know, what type of traffic impacts those are going to bring. They're not here now, but these are things that have made application through the planning department. We're reasonably confident it or something like it is going to happen. We had about 50 of those, right at 50. We did this same thing. We started to renew those estimates and look at those numbers just a couple of weeks ago. The number's up to 83 now, and of those bigger type of developments and the traffic impacts that come with those. So no question that the growth that we've seen over the past 5 and 10 years is still with us and will be with us for the foreseeable future, and that's a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong. And really, when we think about it, it's really a good thing too for transportation if we can put it on our optimistic thinking caps, because what it allows us to do is now move in a way that Nashville has never moved before. Transit now, for the first time, high capacity transit, rapid transit, is really an opportunity that in a way that without the density, it's just not there. But we're starting to see density certainly in certain areas like downtown, like our major corridors, our Gallatin roads and Murfreesboro and Nolensville roads, starting to creep up there, where we can really make this a well-functioning system and do it in an economically viable way.
Do you think it's possible? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we actually, the Urban Land Institute hosted a forum on transit-oriented development a couple weeks ago, and a couple of the developers were saying that the folks that they're seeing move into a lot of these downtown developments and you know, some of the sort of 5-story apartment buildings on Charlotte Pike, for instance, are empty nesters, or they are, you know, young people that have recently moved to Nashville, or they're sort of recently married or you know, just have young children, and those are also the type of people that tend to want to ride transit, tend to want to bike and walk more as well. And so you know, like I mentioned, that the Metro Planning Department's update to the general plan, Nashville Next, really sort of looked about how we should be growing as a region as we absorb this growth. And we've really tried to focus our growth along these key corridors, in large part to leave a lot of our neighborhoods intact. And the way that people that live here in Nashville now want them to be. And so it's a way for us to accomplish 2 goals at one time. You need the density for the transit, and transit is the best way to move people when you have density. So we want to encourage those to be happening.
I've heard it said this way, we in Nashville, we've got to change to stay the same. You know, a lot of people like Nashville for what it is. You've been here a long time, or brand new residents. They're coming for a reason, and they're staying for a reason. And in order to preserve that quality of life, life. In some areas, we've got to make some changes in order to preserve that and stay the way we are.
There is a hope, I guess, that many of the people moving here are willing to get out of their cars. Are we going to be a city? There are certain cities now that have horrible problems with traffic that you need a car to get around in. If you don't have a car, you're not going to get probably where you need to be. I guess our vision would be we don't want to be one of those kind of cities.
Yeah.
And do you think we can achieve that in a way that won't break us? Financially, I mean. Can we, and certainly the planning is there, but can we be that kind of city that gets a lot of these new people out of their cars and, you know, as I like what you said, change to be the same?
Yeah, well, we certainly can't by not changing anything. So there has been a very ambitious, proactive plan put out there from InMotion, which was our MTA's master plan that we are now working on and working to implement that. And we have to go through those steps. We have to do some of the investigations and the engineering studies and so forth to figure out exactly, first of all, what is the proposal and how much will it cost, and then to determine, you know, what is the infrastructure that we think we should be putting out there to attract those riders. We can't just make some changes and maybe put more buses on the street. That may be a part of it, but at some point we have to provide a service that is quick, that is reliable, that is convenient to users in order to attract them, just like any business would. To put out a quality service, you have to you have to provide a quality product, and that's what we're striving to do.
All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jacob. Hello, Jacob.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm quite aware of what's going on 8th Avenue and Westwood and all of the inner city. So, and a big problem is the red lights don't work together. So you've got people trying to turn right, but they can't, and they're in the middle of the intersection. People can't go forward, and it's just blocking it up. So, you know, the MTA is a great thing, but let's face it, we're in the South, and most of the people that ride the MTA are poor people. People in the South are not going to ride on the MTA. I mean, this is just a fact. So the bicycle lanes, great thing. Great thing. You know, I like to see bicycle lanes. But, you know, people that get on 8th Avenue and over there on Franklin Road, and especially these people that are pulling children on those little carts, it's just craziness.
All right, you bring up...
These bicycle lanes are going to solve this problem. It's just madness. You put fat Southern people on a bicycle, they're going to have heart attacks.
They're going to have heart attacks. So you're worried about an outbreak of heart attacks along some of the corridors. All right, I like some of the things you said there. He's questioning traffic lights. Are they working in tandem? That's certainly something that's discussed over and over. I know this has been looked at, but can you address this issue?
I can. You know, we did an extensive, a bigger traffic signal timing project than I can ever remember. We did this probably close to a year ago, 8 months ago, something like that. And that is something that, and we touched just about every corridor. We synchronized a tremendous number of lights. But that's something we have to stay on top of, because what happens is every time a new restaurant opens, office building opens, condominium building opens, traffic patterns change. And that, you know, one might not do it and two might not do it, but you open 5 or 10 and over the course of time those patterns change. And we have to systematically update those, because, you know, we're very much dependent on traffic patterns and what the land use is out there and how that drives traffic in order to keep those signals operating efficiently. Another part of it is just upgrading our infrastructure, and we are doing that as we can. We are looking to development to actually help pay for some of those system upgrades, and we look for opportunities to do that efficiently where we can, getting new signal equipment, getting state-of-the-art detection. You know, when a car pulls up to a signal, there's equipment there. A lot of time ours are still in the road. Those things break over time, and we have to continue to go out and maintain those things. So it's a big job, and we're doing our best to stay on top of those things.
I have experienced where they're synchronized, and it's great. You feel like you're on top of the world, you sail right through. And then I feel like in that same, so it's interesting you say we have to stay on top of it. Maybe you don't get that And maybe that has nothing to do with them being synchronized. Maybe I just hit something at the wrong time. But it is a wonderful thing when they're synchronized. And so I hope that is something, I'm sure it is, that you all are working on a lot.
It is, and that continues to be a big part of transportation in Nashville. You know, sometimes people think we've all gone off the deep end and all we do is talk about bicycles and walking and transit and all these other things. We know. We drive to work every day. We know how our system works. 90% of the people still drive, and a large portion of that is single vehicle or single occupant vehicles. And so, you know, we continue to work with that. But if I could say anything about the vision for transportation and what we need to do with this action plan and everything that we do, it's really, in business terms, we've got to diversify our portfolio of options. We've got to give people options to be able to make reasonable choices about different forms of transportation to take.
And just to add on to what Jeff is saying, is that I think we feel like if we can provide high quality options, and he said this about the bus service, and the gentleman said that he doesn't think that anyone's going to ride the MTA buses, but we really think if we can provide frequent service, the service that's coming at least every 15 minutes, that it's reliable, that it's comfortable, you can walk easily to the transit stop, the transit stops feel comfortable, that more people will ride it. And obviously if we're moving in the direction of a light rail line, there's evidence from lots of cities, including cities in the South, where people are riding transit, and we feel the same way around bikeways. You know, the work that we're focusing on with our bikeways is to provide more protected bikeways, whether there's a buffer or some type of physical barrier between the bike lane and cars. If people feel comfortable biking and they feel safe, then I think more people will do it. Same with our sidewalks. We're trying to get wider sidewalks with a landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the road, so that people feel comfortable. So we're like Jeff said, we're really focused on providing high quality infrastructure so that these options can become more viable for more people. Does that mean it's going to be everybody's choice? Not necessarily, but we need to have a diverse portfolio of options.
More people riding MTA. I mean, Jacob, very blunt, saying in the South it's poor people who generally ride buses. You feel like we're going to change that, right? It's going to be an option that's open more across the board. And are you already seeing that?
We are seeing, so there are 5 routes where we have increased our bus service to come at least every 15 minutes, and 4 of them are corridors that we're looking at for light rail: Gallatin, Murfreesboro, Nolensville, and Charlotte. And we're seeing that as soon as we make that increase to the every 15 minutes, we're seeing about a 10% increase in ridership. So it's about that regular, something you can count on. And that's just one improvement that we're planning on making. We think we will continue to see more of those ridership increases as the improvements compound on themselves. I think the caller's onto something. I mean, what he is saying is this is something that we're not used to. Maybe it's geographical or whatever the case may be, but in Nashville we're not used to. We don't first think, hey, I'm going to make my trip by transit. And so we are trying to do things that will attract choice riders, you know, but all transit users as well. And we've got to begin to think about, well, if I'm going downtown, I've got parking and I've got all of these other things. Maybe transit does make sense. I used it Sunday night to come to the Predators game downtown. It's a wonderful service. I'm surprised more people don't use it. But
well, that's great. Yeah, and parking and all that. All right, we're going to take a break. If you're on the line, hold on. I'll come back. We'll just go through some calls. Wayne, Richard, others, hold on the line. If you want to call, there's the number 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.